Thank you very much. Yes, quite a title, isn't it, really? So I work for professional services. We come on site to enterprises, and we work with partners. We work with on-site staff, and we implement cloud solutions using AWS. So following on from Anil's discussion around dev, I thought I'd cover ops. Okay. I tried to search for the cutest pictures. I had quite a response, really. Those are the two I could use. So alongside things like elasticity and self-service and global footprint, when we talk about cloud, one of the benefits we bring up a lot is around flexibility. So I would love to live in that mutable, dynamic world where my entire infrastructure is rebuilt for me overnight. I've got all the automation possible. I'm using all the tools, using CloudFormation and Terraform to provision the infrastructure. I have a server image bakery where I have brand new images that are produced to me and fully patched and fully updated every week. All my servers would be herds of cattle. I never log into them. Any updates I need are pushed via a full CI/CD pipeline using our services or other third-party services. I would be living the DevOps dream, but that's not always possible. So pets and cattle, I'm sure you've heard the term before. Pets require some TLC. Cattle, not so much. Pets are your legacy servers. So they're servers with specialized roles. They're servers running applications that need to be on all the time. They're servers that don't have any ability to become HA compliant. They're just there to be running all the time. And really, that's a lot of people's reality. And so the issue comes, if you've got servers that need to be running all the time, then you need to keep them healthy. And being healthy is a number of different tasks. So since servers fail, we need a way of restoring them. And so we need a way of backing them up first. We want them to be secure. So we need to patch them. We need to provide some access control. We need to update things like antivirus on them. We also need monitoring to tell us when those servers fail or going to fail. And maybe we can create some preemptive tasks to do that. We need to do capacity management and auditing to make sure that we know exactly how many servers we got and what's on them. That's a lot of tasks that we've got to complete. And traditionally, we've used a lot of tools to do that on premise. Each function has pretty much got its own set of tooling. A couple of years ago, back in 2015, we introduced a small little addition to our EC2 compute service. So EC2, if you're not aware, that's Amazon's Elastic Compute Service. It's our version of virtual machines, which we call instances. So in 2015, we tucked away overnight a little thing called EC2 run command. Cunningly, it allowed you to run a command on an EC2 instance. I wish we had better marketing. So instead of a very high-tech advertisement where I have a holographic data center and I drop a command onto holographic racks, we just published a blog post and we just put it out there. This service is really, really important. It's, I know I get perhaps a bit too excited about this, really. It does allow you to run a command, but it's fully auditable, so the commands I run, I know I know who's doing that and what they're doing it on. We can also link run command into other services. I'm going to be talking about this a little bit more later on, but I can link run command into CloudWatch. CloudWatch is our monitoring service. So for instance, if my monitoring service has an alarm, generates an alarm, that alarm, I can issue a CloudWatch event. That event will trigger a run command. If the event was maybe some disks filling up, CloudWatch would trigger run command. Run command would run some PowerShell, which would remove log files, compress log files, reduce the size of, increase the size of the capacity on that disk. Run command uses things we call SSM documents. Documents, we supply a whole bunch of documents, which I'll show you in a little bit. Documents can also be written by you yourself, so you can have your own range of documents. Run command is really simple, yet really powerful, but that's not the end of the story. So, as is typical with AWS, we iterate a lot. We launch new services a lot. We launch new functionality to existing services a lot. And I've got a great example of that at the end of the slides. So run command, last year, at last year's reInvent's our customer conference that we have in Las Vegas. It's on in 9 days' time. Run command, we put as part of something we call AWS Systems Manager. We pulled all those services, so run command, plus also other services like State Manager, which manages desired state. Parameter store, we're going to talk about shortly. Patch management, automation, inventory. So all these separate services we pull together under the Systems Manager umbrella. As I said, we constantly add to this, so new bits of functionality all the time. 3 weeks ago, we launched Session Manager. I'll show you Session Manager shortly. Again, we have third-party providers who provide access control software and services for us. But Session Manager does that for you as well. So it gives you a browser-based SSH or PowerShell session to your servers. Everything's fully logged for you, so you know exactly what's going on at the OS level with your servers. And talking of new things, this came out last night, really, around midnight. So if you're using PowerShell DSC, you can now have that integration straight into Systems Manager as well. Okay, now the scary bit. Let me just show you some stuff, really, rather than just PowerPoint presentations. So. Okay. My browser. I know Anil asked at the start of his session, but can I just get you to raise your hand if you use AWS? Okay, remember, mark them all down. Excellent. So you're aware of AWS Console. Of all the people that use AWS, can I ask then how many people regularly use Systems Manager? Like 2. Systems Manager is so great, really, honestly. You've got to use Systems Manager. Let me show you a couple of things. So what I didn't say in the last slide, so I showed you the Systems Manager services. 2 things I didn't mention, quite important. Systems Manager, let me show you that. Systems Manager can manage your AWS cloud resources. Systems Manager is agent-based. When you launch an AWS instance, a virtual machine, that agent's already built in. You can also apply that agent to your on-premise data center. So you can use Systems Manager to manage on-prem as well. Now, you're probably asking, this is going to cost a fortune. If it's anything like SCCM, I'm going to be paying for this forever. No, thanks for asking. No, it's completely free. If you run an EC2 instance, all of that you get for free. There's no other charges. OK, let me go to run command. Love run command. I have a whole bunch of documents that are already prepared. The apply DSC MOFs appeared overnight. There's a whole bunch of things I can do. Let me get to run PowerShell script. Bit of cut and paste in to save time, maybe save time. OK, so this feature is going to, as you can see, it's going to install the AD tools. I can specify all my instances, so my entire fleet of AWS compute, or I can manually select some, or I can specify a certain tag. So I'm just going to specify one single instance. And run. Now this is the bit that's scary because I'm very confident this is going to work, but it does take a little bit of time, so let's keep an eye on that. It does take a bit of time. Session Manager, let me show you Session Manager quickly. Start a session. I've got options here. So I've got options of log in everything I do, everything anybody does in those sessions that they launch with Session Manager to CloudWatch, inside of CloudWatch logs. CloudWatch is our monitoring system, or straight into S3. S3 is our object store. And that will be able to tell me exactly what is going on inside each session. Those logs you can further manipulate, analyze. You know, it's an S3 log, so you can put that into Kinesis or apply some Lambda to it. So looking for specific data. If you've got a lot of log files, you need to be quite intelligent about how you use them. There we go. So that's PowerShell session straight into one of my servers. It's a real Windows server, lots of files. It's not the right command, is it? It does take a bit of time to run. So while that's running, I terminate that session. And has run command finished yet? Command history, that one, output, success. Yay! So patch management really important when you've got those long-living servers inside AWS as well. You can create patch baselines, so you're not just going to apply every patch to every server. You may want to be very selective about what patches you apply to certain workloads. Like I said, you can create patch baselines and assign them to specific tags, specific workloads. But it does all that for you. Maintenance windows, self-explanatory. State manager, and we've got that new PowerShell DSC MOF so you can apply. One thing I want to show you quickly is parameter store. Again, like run command, so parameter store is a really simple command. It stores parameters, but it's really powerful how we can use this. So I can create admin password. I'm going to make that a secure string. I'm going to secure it via normal KMS. Value is this, my super secret admin password. And I create parameter, and I don't do that. So I can use parameter store in user data when I launch instances. I can use that parameter in my CloudFormation scripts. So when I'm provisioning my entire infrastructure using CloudFormation, does Terraform use this as well? Can Terraform use parameter store? I don't know. I know it's a recent thing, CloudFormation. So instead of specifying admin passwords in scripts, which I'm sure you've all seen, I'm sure you all cringe when you see it, I can just use that parameter store, and it'll swap it out when it does the implementation. So, okay, let me, no, I'll come back. Okay, let me switch back to presentation. Sorry, it takes a while to populate. Okay, so we've got not only Systems Manager, which does a lot of stuff for you, but we've also got a lot of other tools as well. I'm be talking about a lot of these in the next couple of slides. I just want to draw your attention to two things. So AWS CloudFormation to do your infrastructure provisioning. It's a really easy JSON or YAML-based infrastructure language, very much like Terraform. A lot of our customers use CloudFormation and Terraform. CloudFormation is our solution. So when we launch new services, they're going to appear in CloudFormation first, and then Terraform. It doesn't really take them a long time to catch up, but there is a gap. OpsWorks for configuration management. OpsWorks is pretty much Chef, really, does the same things that Chef does, uses Chef recipes. Also not on that slide is Elastic Beanstalk. Elastic Beanstalk has been around for years. Seems to have been around for years anyway, but a lot of people use it. So with Elastic Beanstalk, you just tell it what application you want to deploy, and it'll deploy the application for you. You can do blue-green deployments with Elastic Beanstalk. It's a lot of companies use it. Sorry, didn't mean to sound surprised there. I mean, it's a great service. It's just been around for ages, and we've got newer services which do that work as well. Trusted Advisor, one of my favorite services. So let me show you Trusted Advisor. Bear with me while the screen refreshes again. Okay, as the name suggests, Trusted Advisor is your trusted advisor. Trusted Advisor looks at your account. Good gosh, look at that. Trusted Advisor looks at your account and tells you, matches that against best practice. So under a number of different categories. So service limits. We have a lot of soft limits that we apply to AWS accounts so that somebody can't start up a whole bunch of expensive instances without there being alarm bells being raised. If you do hit those service limits, speak to your account manager or raise a ticket in the console, and they'll get lifted for you. Fault tolerance, security, obviously very important. So it looks at a number of best practices and matches what you're doing in the account against those best practices. Performance and cost optimization, and I'm overspending by almost $4 grand. Oh my. So it's found in my account a whole bunch of EC2 instances that I think have been running for a while because I was testing something. And perhaps I should have shut off, really. Oh, look at that. So I need to do that before my boss sees it and tells me off. But yeah, so as a service itself, we are supplying to you, our customer, a service that will tell you how best to save money inside our platform, which I think is quite neat, really. You can set notifications, so if you do, like me, run an instance that's expensive and you don't shut it down when you don't need it, it'll notify and tell you. You can also put in rules as well, so it'll actually switch those things off. Security, again, is a couple of, I mean, I should have fixed these before I come out here, really. I shouldn't have shown you the screen. But yeah, there's a couple of standard things in here that it's warning me to not be silly and fix, really. So I will do that as soon as I finish this talk. So let's talk about some of these services in a bit more detail. Anil mentioned about SAM, Serverless Application Model. So I talked about CloudFormation, which is our infrastructure provisioning service. So we're seeing an absolute evolution. We're trying to push this evolution along where people have moved to cloud. They've done a lift and shift, and they're using automation, and all that's good. But we kind of want to move people along the value chain as well, and serverless is certainly the one of the ways to go with that. The serverless application model came out really recently, didn't it? And allows you to, effectively it's an add-on into CloudFormation, and allows you to provision serverless solutions, serverless infrastructure using these methods. And we actually give you a thing called SAM Local, so you can build, test, and deploy serverless applications locally on your machine before pushing them up to Lambda. Service catalog is. I tried to claim some ownership of service catalog, really. So a couple of years ago, I worked for a high street bank. We were doing a global rollout of AWS inside the bank. One of the things we wanted to do is enable thousands of teams of developers all around the globe use AWS to deliver their solutions. But obviously there's governance, there's consistency, there's security, and there's also cost as well that we need to consider. So you know how crazy developers are. You can't just give them free access to stuff, they go crazy. So we wanted a way of governing some of that. And at the time, this was 4 years ago, we used a whole bunch of IAM policies to restrict that. So we wanted people in the US to use services that were closest to them, people in the UK to use services closest to them. So all that functionality and more has gone into Service Catalog. You can set up groups and users so that they can only deploy what they are allowed to deploy in the places they're allowed to deploy them. It also integrates with ServiceNow. Let's, for instance, we've got a ticket that arrives in ServiceNow that needs a new web server on AWS, and ServiceNow will trigger some CloudFormation, which will go and deploy that service. AWS config is another really cool service that not as many people use as they should, really. So we talked about managing configuration at the OS level using things like AWS Service Manager. But how do you manage configuration change at the AWS level? So AWS Config does that. It keeps a track of everything that goes on that you're doing with your AWS services, and gives you a full history and snapshots when you need it, so that you know when a service has been changed, when configuration of a service has been changed. It monitors your AWS account, provides you a full history. I've just said that. Okay. CloudWatch. So we have had for a long time built-in monitoring services like CloudWatch. We've also got CloudTrail. We've also got flow logs. CloudWatch is really powerful. It'll look at your EC2 instances and give you the traditional graphs that you expect to see from a monitoring service. So slight diversion here. When I was a kid, which was a long time ago, I used to love Lego. My children also love Lego. Christmas coming up, I'm going to help them play with Lego. What I used to love is the ability, if you have 10 bricks, you can make so many different things with just a small amount of bricks. And it's that builder spirit that we see a lot with AWS as well. Our customers show that every day. So I can take a monitoring solution, a traditional monitoring solution like CloudWatch, and I can add services to it to make something new. So I can take CloudWatch, I can take OS level logs, and by OS level logs, I don't mean application security and system logs, I mean custom logs, your IIS logs or your application logs from the OS, feed them into CloudWatch, trigger alarms, and then trigger notifications or trigger some workflow. I can also take the same thing and feed them into Amazon Kinesis. Kinesis ingests real-time streaming data very, very well. And it can take that, and you can then use analysis or take actions on the data you see out of those that's coming out of your OS. All this by just piecing services together. Run command is a great action command for that, really. So my EC2 instance will alert for something. CloudWatch will pick that up. CloudWatch alarms will feed into CloudWatch events, feed into run command, and I can proactively stop an issue from happening, or proactively do something about it, really. So we're celebrating this year. This is a big year for us. So it's our 10-year anniversary. We've been running EC2 compute services in the cloud for 10 years. We actually started running S3, our object store, 2 years before that. So we've been running Microsoft Windows servers on EC2 since day one. So Windows Server 2003 was our first server image. We're bringing that right the way up to date with Server 2019 as soon as it's released. We run more servers in the cloud than anyone else. I often think how conflicted, because we're a Microsoft partner, we're a SPLA partner. I often think how conflicted our AWS account manager is inside Microsoft as he flies in by helicopter every day, because we spend an awful lot of money, really. We're on licenses. One last slide to show you is my favorite slide. This is the journey, really. It's actually probably about 6 months or so out of date. I love two things about this slide, apart from the cool animation. I love that it shows our innovation. So the majority of these changes, the majority of these new services have come from customers coming up to us and saying, I like AWS, but wouldn't it be good if we can be able to run PowerShell? Or would it be good if you had your own AD service? And we've gone away and come back and delivered it. So apart from innovation, it also shows, I think, a commitment to the Microsoft ecosystem and the people who develop on there, really. I think that's pretty awesome. In 9 days' time, we've got reInvent. As I mentioned, reInvent is our customer conference. It's a great time of the year if you're a customer. It's not so great if you've got to try and understand and be knowledgeable about all the services that we're going to announce, really. So I know we've got a lot of services that we're going to announce week after next that are specifically tailored for customers running Microsoft and AWS. And with that, that's it. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Ryan. So we're going to be having a 20-minute coffee break now, and the next session here will be at 20 to 4, where we will have Fumala Schmidt from Microsoft doing a talk on the end of life of Server 2008 R2. Thanks.